What's up, everybody? Coach Stefan here. I'm with one of our clients, Bob. He's been in our program about 7 weeks, crushing it already. I know you're driving, so as safe as possible. Do you mind letting people know who you are, what you do, kind of where you're located if you feel comfortable, and give people some context, and then we'll kind of dive in and get some feedback.
Bob Eves. I'm in the Fredericksburg region of Virginia. Law enforcement officer for 23 years. Been with three different agencies. I'm a patrol sergeant. I'm also in charge of the special response team for my agency. I'm 45 years old. So responsible for a lot of different people and a lot of different things.
Yeah. And husband
Also,
and father too, right?
yes, husband and father, get ready for my son to graduate and at the end of May. Um, so very busy. Also a goalkeeper coach for a girls varsity soccer team at our high school. So constantly staying busy.
Yeah, 100%, man. Super busy. And I think like that's a lot of our guys, right? Like pretty high achiever, really driven males that want to do a lot, right? You want to crush it in every area of your life, like be a good dad, be a good husband, do well in your career, and obviously all the responsibilities you've taken on have proven that. Um, what was the first thing that made you join Pursuit in the first place? Like what were kind of some of those goals or the reason you came to us 7 weeks ago?
I was not happy with where I was at physically. Um, Noticed weight gain that no matter what I did wasn't going away. No matter how I decided to diet, it just wasn't doing anything. And I've done many different programs before, had some success, but when it came to the coaches were just like, well, try this program or try that program. That might help get you off your plateau. There was no real science or help behind it. So when I started to go looking for another program, I wanted, there were certain aspects I was looking for, and Pursuit kept popping up over and over and over again in my Instagram feed. And there were other ones that called themselves cop programs, specifically for cops and all this other stuff. When I started looking into all the different programs, one thing I found is that you actually had a coach in this in Pursuit that is sitting down with you once a week, talking with you, trying to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. Setting up your macros, which is something I never really thought about. And all the other coaches and the other programs I had never talked about macros. It was, hey, just follow this diet plan. Just eat these certain things. And the it's just everything that I saw with Pursuit just said, hey, I need to talk to whoever from this company and see if what I'm hearing or what I'm reading is what's going on. And after sitting down with you, it was kind of an easy choice to say, yeah, this is not another gimmick. These guys actually are, so to speak, putting their money where their mouth is, as long as, you as the client are willing to get up, pardon me, but off your ass and do what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be willing to put in the work. So if I'm hearing you right, you've worked with some other coaches before, you've done some other programs, but you felt like they were a little more generic on the advice, right? Like, hey, just kind of, follow this, maybe not really, and not to dog on them, but maybe not putting in like the actual effort and education that need to happen, right? Like, just follow this, just work harder. Um, and as you know, that could be really hard. Like, and here's the thing, the guys we work with, the men we work with, and like, yes, we're very, have tons of law enforcement, but we do have some guys in sales and IT and own businesses. But the big common theme is like all the men we work with don't have necessarily a problem with execution. Like I know sometimes it can seem like that, like, oh, I'm not as consistent or disciplined. It's really just a systems and an education problem. And so some coaches don't know how to deal with that. They're like, just go do this. Like, dude, I can follow a diet plan. Like me doing is not the problem. And we know we talked about that on the call because all of our guys are usually training or trying to eat healthy. But if you don't have a path and you don't have a plan and you don't understand why you're doing it, it's way harder to be consistent, right? which is I know kind of what you were struggling with. What were some of the big goals you had coming into pursuit? Like we know kind of why, you're at a plateau, you weren't really getting the guidance you wanted. Um, what were the goals you were wanting to achieve in this program? And maybe some of them, obviously you're only 7 weeks in, you're like, hey, I still want to achieve those, but what are those goals for you?
Um, One of the biggest goals was to drop about 40 to 50-ish pounds. So wanted to drop down. Started at 244. Wanted to get down to at least 200. Wanted to trim up a lot. Uh, and basically show all the young guys, the old guy, the old bull up on the hill can still run around and show them how it's
Oh
done.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I work with, I'm the oldest on the team by probably about, I think, 5 or 6 years. I'm the oldest on my squad by probably about 10 years. Actually, yeah. Well, we just got a new rookie, but he doesn't count right now. But for the most part, oldest on my squad by about 10 years. So I always get dogged on about being the old guy. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to show all these young bucks how it's really done. So that
Oh
was
yeah.
another force. And just I wanted to be a little more physically active so I could help the keepers for the soccer team and not, die out halfway through a drill just because I'm tired but they need to work. Um, you know, be able to keep up with my 18-year-old boy who keeps reminding me how old I am compared to him and all the gray hair I'm starting to get or that's running around my head. But
Yeah.
it was, you know, and it's been kind of interesting too. The wife, who still does a different program, she's seeing the changes and she's actually starting to eat more like I do, which is
There you
actually
go.
kind of cool. So I think some of the influences I didn't realize were going to happen have happened. And it's actually kind of neat to see.
Yeah, man. And we talked about that. I don't know if you remember on our call, but like a lot of our men come in and not that the main goal is like, I'm going to get in shape so my wife gets in shape, but a lot of it is a byproduct and maybe just small habits like, hey, my wife's starting to work out more. Hey, just as a family, we're eating healthier. And, you're just in the beginning stages. And if she's already kind of seeing and, you're leading a little bit better with the way you're eating and the way you're training, and she sees the discipline, it's kind of hard for the spouse to do the opposite, right? Like it just kind of falls in suit. So that is really a cool win, man. Um, yeah, so losing 40 to 50 pounds, is the big goal of yours. Just getting in better physical condition. I know you said, hey man, 3 weeks in on a call, I'm noticing that I'm already better cardio, sprinting after suspects, I'm not winded. Like it's already a big difference. What about like aesthetically? What's your weight at today versus where you started?
Um, I actually stepped on the scale before I went to the gym this morning, and it was teetering between 8 and 9 pounds down so far.
Nice.
Um, so that that was because I got stuck at 237. I think I've been stuck at 237 for the past like week or two. And Coach Mike and I were talking about, hey, you might have to drop your calorie intake. You might have to fast, which I've done fasting before, so that was going to be no big deal for me. Um, but it was just nice to see that it finally has gotten out of the 237 and down to 235,
Yeah.
236, 235 right there. So I was like, okay, we finally got off that little 2 week plateau, which I don't know if I talked about it with you or Mike, but sometimes your body wants to stay a certain weight
Yep.
for a second to get acclimated and then it's going to drop again. So I was happy to see that drop again this morning.
Yeah, for sure. And I talk about this a lot on my podcast and on social media. Like plateaus are unavoidable to a certain capacity, right? Like our human body wants homeostasis. We want a plateau. Like we don't want to just be changing. It's not good survival environment. So your body's going to fight against it. And, we have obviously really high level coaches and different strategies to be able to say, hey, let's do this nutritionally, let's do this to like get you past it. But then most importantly, keep you there, right? We don't want to just like drop you down to 230 and then you blow back up. It's like, how can we chip you down? And it is kind of a science. So, maybe we're adjusting your macros, maybe we're putting in some intermittent fasting or lowering your calories or upping your workouts. Like it is a little bit of experimentation, not blindfolded throwing a wall at the dark or a dart at the wall. But yeah, we have to be able to say, hey, what works? And every body is different, right? Every person's physical body is a little bit different, adapts different, schedules different, food preference. So we really have to work super high level with you. But it's good to know that you're not at a plateau. Because like prior to this program, 7 weeks ago, how long were you at that weight? Like how long were you plateaued?
A while. Um, I'd probably say a good 4, maybe 6 weeks. Um, where no matter what I was doing, it just was not moving. So the whole, really, the combination between the workouts, the caloric intake, the macros, actually paying attention to all that and actually going that more high protein, low carbs, high fats. Um, I mean, probably both you and Mike said it together, turned your body into a fat burning machine with the way you eat. And boy, has it. It's just interesting to see the wife. She helps take the photos every week. And she's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm seeing this here and I'm seeing that there. And I'm like, and then, I get on the calls with Mike and Mike's like, hey, look at this here. I was like, boy, you just sound like the wife that said it like a couple of days ago when she took the pictures.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of cool seeing
you,
them side by side, right? Like, too, to
oh
be
yeah,
like, wow, you're in your body every day. It's hard to see those changes. You see the photos, you're like, dang.
yeah, most definitely. But it's like I think I told Mike last week. My vest is looser. I'm getting ready to have to. I think I'm getting ready to have to tighten my vest a little. Getting ready to have to tighten my duty belt a little. Um, so yeah, I'm seeing the inches while they're looking at the photos
Yeah.
and they see it in the photos. I don't see it in the photos, but I'm feeling it. Let's just put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. And sometimes it is hard, right? We're the harshest critics. We're in our body every day. But that's why sometimes using not just the scale, but like your clothes, like your vest is your vest, dude. If it's getting looser, you know what I mean? We're going in the right direction. Your belt's getting looser. We're going in the right direction. So different tools, right? Different kind of measurement tools to see, what's working. Now, at the same time, you're losing weight. I think the huge concern about a lot of clients is like, yeah, I'm going to get weak though. Like, I don't want to just cut. I know when I was in the Air Force, it was like, oh, PT, 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 eat less, and these guys got weak and they looked like gazelles. And I'm like, nah, you want to be like a lion, you want to be big, fast, strong. So, what like performance increases have you seen in the last 7 weeks since starting? Like, do you feel like you've gotten stronger, better cardio, better mobility?
Definitely stronger. I've noticed that. And looking back in the app and adding all the weights and everything, which is, I love that feature of the app, especially to see, okay, what did I do last week? And I want to push myself to beat last week's biggest set or highest weight and reps.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, and I know when we originally talked, I was more about having that competitiveness from a group. Well, that's out the window. Now I'm beating myself. I want to beat myself every week. I want to be better. So it's interesting seeing those weights stack up on the barbells or the dumbbells are getting heavier. So the only thing that I know and hopefully I'll get there eventually is I've always been weak on pull-ups, but I know a lot of the stuff I'm doing is going to get me stronger so I can
Yeah.
start doing pull-ups.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, seeing those weights stack up, I'm not getting weaker. I'm definitely getting stronger. My cardio is improving a lot. I'm noticing on the runs or on the cardio portions that I do, the speed on the treadmills going up. Um, and it's like this week, it's 1 minute jog, 1 minute run, 90% of my max. And just seeing, look, I know when I did test week, I was sucking wind doing a mile and a half. But doing this, doing these programs, this jog run, or like today it was a minute and a half walk and 30-second sprint. I'm passing, yes, it's 12 minutes, but for all this, for the 6 rounds, but it's starting to get a whole lot easier than what it was.
Yeah.
Um, and the speed slowly creeping up on the jog and the run, whereas the sprint, I get that minute and a half to recover, so I can stay at that same speed. Although I've maxed out the treadmill at the office, so um,
Yeah.
I got to see if the other one that people don't use as much is a little bit faster. So I'm gonna have to check on that one. But
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to build a cardio engine, and it is kind of like a slow increase, and we just want to make sure you're moving in the right direction, which you've done really well. And you're not new to lifting. I think that's another important thing for people to understand. A lot of our guys have been lifting for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, right? Like most of their life. They're not like new to exercising because you have quite a bit of years of lifting under your belt before you came in, right?
yes, I
How
mean at
long did it
least
take you?
uh, 1999 is when I went off to college. My soccer coach down there said I was too skinny. So my second semester, one of my classes he told me I was signing up for was weightlifting. So since spring of 2000, I've been in the gym,
Yeah.
doing different things, different lifting throughout the years.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's maybe a little bit of a mental barrier for a lot of men that come to work with us because they're not new to lifting. So they're kind of like, why do I need a coach? I could do it on my own. I'll just figure it out. I'll research more online. I'll watch YouTube. I'll use Chat GPT. What were some of the like maybe fears? I want to bundle them into one thing. Maybe fears, hesitations, or even thoughts like that you had prior to the program because you're not new to working out, and I'm sure maybe at some point you're like, oh, I'll just kind of do it on my own. Like, what were those thoughts?
About the program or that I had about myself?
Um, I think it could be both, man. I mean, and again, to give you some context, I just think I want to talk on maybe where your mind was at because I think it might be similar to a lot of guys prior to our program, right? They're like, man, I've been working out, like I could do it, like I'm a super capable guy. And I think it's very hard for men to the, like driven, high achieving guys to be like, I need help or I want to get a coach just because they feel like they could do it on their own. So I'm kind of curious where your mind was at and what the shift was for you.
I, I was tired of being stuck where I was. And I was tired of trying to do it on my own. So I was fearing my weight was just going to keep creeping up and there was nothing I was going to do to stop it. Um, and there was everything I kept doing just was not helping. I had a coach before, and I think my biggest fear was it was going to be the same way, that I wasn't going to get the help I was looking for. I wasn't going to get that mentorship that I think is really kind of part of what you guys do. Um, and I was just like, am I really going to spend this money and am I really going to see results?
That's
Um,
fair. Especially if you had a
and
coach before that didn't maybe deliver the way you needed to, right?
yeah. Um, and so I think that was my biggest fear going into it was, am I really going to get the support and everything else that I was looking for, needing, suggestions, help, and actually being able to access a coach when you really needed to, because sometimes these coaches say, oh, you can, I'm here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you reach out to them, you send them a message and then it's like 2 days later. And I'm like, dude, I needed you 2 flipping days ago. I didn't need you now.
Yeah.
Um, which I understand you guys got lives, but it's been very interesting how quickly, I know I don't get to talk to you as much as I talk to Mike, but Mike, I can send a message, probably an hour or two or less. I mean, if he's busy in calls, I get it, but he's very quick to respond, and it's very great to have that. Or I think the other thing I've tried to do is if there's like a machine we don't have at my office, I've reached out to him. Hey, what do you want me to do instead of this? Because we don't have this machine. And he's like, oh, do this instead. So
Yeah.
I think it's great being able to look ahead and talk with your coach about, hey, I know I got this, you put in this specific exercise. I ain't got that machine, or hey, I got this issue, and work from there with you guys. So,
Sure.
like I said, biggest fear was I going to have that support that this was claiming to be?
Right. Well, 7 weeks in, it sounds like we're delivering.
Yes, very much so.
Good, good. Yeah, and I mean the way that our program works too for you and those who are listening is like I know our coaches are super capable. Like you said, Mike's going to get back to you. Super high level coach. Obviously, as you've talked to him, he knows his stuff. He's super confident, very educated. I know you guys are good, but like if anybody ever needed to get on a call with me, like I'm open, like I just don't really ever ever need to because I have really high level coaches and we built it like that. And me and the coaches on the back end are always talking about clients and how we're doing. We have internal systems to check on people and make sure everybody's good, which is important because I remember us talking about that. Like for me being the business owner, I have to make sure my coaches have a certain amount of roster space and their schedules are good so they can be good coaches. So they can communicate, they can do their check-ins, they can take their time. I don't want to overload them, I don't want to underload them. And that's, kind of what I do in the background is this balancing act. But, Mike and our other coaches are super high level. And, I think, like we chatted about, I'd rather work with less clients at a higher level than more at a watered down service. That's a big thing for me
Mhm.
because the number one issue in the coaching industry is unfortunately a lack of communication. And what you get on week one isn't the same on week four. And that's why I tell people like, look at our 80 plus client interviews. Some of them, you're 7 weeks in, some have been in a year, 2 years, whatever. I want the service week one to be the same as year two. Like you're paying for a service, we should be able to get back to you. And, having the coaching and the mentorship and the communication, like that's what coaching is, right? It's the three C's: communication, collaboration, and just the coaching, right? Like if we're not doing that, then it's not coaching. So
Yeah.
that's a really important component. Like, yeah, the app and having all that. One other question I did have that I think is important to talk about because you are, wildly busy. How has it worked with your lifestyle? Because I think that's another little bit of a concern. People are like, well, is it going to work? I work midnights, or we have some people that are like, I own two businesses and I travel, from here to here and I got kids. Like, how's the adaptability been with your lifestyle?
So it's kind of funny you say that, or ask that question, because we just had a guy promoted to sergeant, from our detectives bureau, and he went to night shift. And they see me come in at 3 o'clock in the morning on days I work. So, or in the gym by 3:15, 3:30, I'm up by 3. And they're like, I don't know how you do that, how you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, come in here, work out, shower, get dressed. I was like, guys, it's not that hard. I go to bed. I think I talked with you and I talked with Mike. It's about setting a bedtime.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, more than
so
a wake up time for sure.
yeah. And the one that just came from nights, he goes, how'd you do it on nights? I was like, it's easy. We get off at 0600, get in bed by 07. I was up by 1400 and taking pre-workout, getting in the gym, lifting at home, whatever I was doing, having, getting done by 1500, 1530-ish shower. I have like an hour and a half ish before I had to leave for work. I was like, And all I hear is, well, I need my sleep. I said, well, what's a priority? Is your priority working out or is your priority sleep? You know, I can do it with 5, 6 hours of sleep. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
And they're like,
given like 8, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is probably not going to happen on a consistent basis. Yeah, so I feel you. I mean, you got to recover, but you also
and
have to have like discipline to get up and do what you need to do.
and I've also found it's interesting getting up and doing that, especially on days I work. You know, everyone's like, well, aren't you tired? Aren't you tired? No, like I feel because before our roll call or during it, I might pass on to the second on my shift and sit there and eat my breakfast in front of everybody and no one cares. But like I go throughout the day and I don't think I yawned once and I'm seeing them yawn, you know, before I started doing this. Yeah, was I tired throughout the day? Was I looking for energy drinks? Yes, I was. But that's no longer the case. You know, my days off, I'll usually go in sometime in the morning to work out, or if I know I got to go to practice, I go in an hour and a half to 2 hours before practice, work out, and then I go straight over to the field for practice. Um, which I know everyone's like, you're crazy for not taking a break in between the two. And I was like, well, I'm already like an afterburn after working out. So why not just keep going?
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, I think too that's important to touch on because it's like you do a lot, man. Which, I'm the same way. I'm just go, 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 100 million responsibilities, owning this business, doing other stuff, taking care of my kids, working out. It's a lot, right? And so working out consistently is actually gives you more energy, right? As you've noticed, it's like it seems counterintuitive, but unless you're training consistently, you don't get it, right? And eating healthier and like you can function more on 5 to 6 hours of sleep, training regularly and not eating like shit than you can 7 hours of sleep and inconsistent training. And so yeah, there's definitely that's a big factor. And I'm glad that you are getting more energy because you need it, man, because you're doing a lot. I think my last kind of question for you is, I know you've only been in 7 weeks, but you have a lot of experience lifting. You've worked with other coaches. I think you come really well-rounded, which is, why I've asked you to jump on and give your feedback. So two things. Number one, um, you should give yourself a pat on the back because like although we've been there coaching you, you've been doing the work, man. You've been being disciplined, you've been getting up, you've been very coachable, you've been listening to Coach Mike, you've been setting the example, you've been the leader to really everybody, like your kids, people at work, your spouse, yourself. So congrats, Knuckles. Um, but the second thing is, if somebody was kind of in the same position you were 7 weeks ago, you know, I guess a guy in his mid 40s, was very career driven, has a busy career, really high demanding lifestyle, dad, husband, and maybe he has been working out for a long time and is in the same spot because your situation is actually very common in our program, right? A lot of our guys are in their 40s and 50s. They've been working out for a long time, super busy, and to no surprise, a lot of them are plateaued at some capacity. But like, what would you tell that person if they were, maybe on the fence or skeptical or had some kind of fear and hesitation about joining Pursuit and kind of taking the leap and doing the program?
I actually kind of had this posed to me because our patrol lieutenant, he came to me and he's like, hey, I've noticed you've been hitting the gym hard, you know, what's going on, what's changed. I said I was just tired of being where I was at, for one. And I started talking about the program with him and he goes, okay. He goes, do you have days off? I said, you can work out when you want. I said, you can have as many days as you want. I told my coach I wanted 4 days. He gave me 5 days. Okay, Mike, you're pushing me. I'm good with it. Um, I said, I get Wednesday and Sunday as my rest days. I said, I've always believed in having rest days, so I wanted at least a few rest days during the
Yeah.
week. And he goes, okay. And I said, everything's done in the app. Everything's great. I said, my biggest thing, and I said, if I'm being honest with you, I said, you have to push yourself. This, this right here, this program is nothing more than you getting off your ass and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Um, I thought it, I really was looking for something like this. Um, yeah, I was hesitant at first after sitting and talking with you about everything and, getting with Coach Mike. All those hesitations, all those fears, everything in the back of my mind went away. Yes, was it rough the first week getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym and working out? 100%. Um, were those thoughts in the back of my mind of, oh, I could roll back over and go back to sleep for an hour and then get up and go to work and then I'll try and fit the workout in after work? Yeah, a few times. But then in the back of my head, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? And it was, no, get up, let's go take care of this and get after it so we don't have to worry about it later on in the day.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think if anyone wants to do this, you got to look at your why and are you serious enough to get up off your tail, get your butt in the gym, and do what you're supposed to be doing? If not, then honestly, I can say this program is not for you. You just really got to keep yourself consistent being in there, and also watching your caloric and your macro intake.
Yeah. No, it's great feedback, man. And you hit the nail on the head. There's no magic pill. And we're not going to coddle you. We're here to push you, right? We're here to keep you, get you to the point where you're firing on all cylinders. Like I want you guys to crush it in every area at work, with your spouse, with your, being a parent, with your fitness. Like I want you to be a super well-rounded freaking machine. And if you want that lifestyle, if you want to just crush in every area, that's not easy. Most of America is fat and struggling, right? Like if you really want to be that top 10%, 1%, like it should be hard. That's why you're different. That's why you set yourself apart. That's why we're not going to let you settle for mediocrity and low standards, right? And now that's a whole nother topic and tangent, but like, yeah, man, I agree. Like and this is why we have the conversation with you, right? And I meet with you and we have a kind of a more in-depth thing. Not I just go sign up for our program because I want to make sure the people we let in are willing to do the work. And it's not all butterflies and rainbows. For most people, it's not as hard as they think. Obviously, you're in the very beginning stages and it is a little bit of a grind, right? But that's just like if you started a business or a relationship, like any, in a career, anything in the beginning is more challenging. But at the same time, like you've already seen that you're not grinding and putting in the work for nothing, right? You've lost some weight, your clothes are fitting better, your energy's better, your cardio's better, your strength. So now you're like, okay, it's worth it. Cool. Now it's easier to get up because you're like, it's not for nothing. I can 1 + 1 = 2. But in the beginning, it's the hardest, right? Because and I think I've probably told you this, like really the only difference between the people that want to work with us and our clients is a lot of them, our clients just said, let's go. And they kind of took the leap, even when there's some fears and some hesitation and it's a little bit scary and, will it work? And yeah, dude, that's supernatural. That's literally what we have. Like that feeling will probably never go away. And the only way to get that feeling of kind of anxiety is to do it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get married, or I'm going to move states and date a different career. The only way to get rid of that kind of angst is to do it, is to get there, right? And that's the hardest part. And so, I'm proud of you for being willing to do it. You didn't have like the best experiences before, but I think you made it very simple. You're like, I want the results. I'm not getting the results I want. I don't want to stay here. Therefore, I, do my research on you guys. I feel good. Let's see. And, 7 weeks in, it's been sounds like a really good decision. And, I'm proud of the work you're putting in and setting an example. And yeah, man, you should be proud of what you've done so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. Well,
Appreciate
I do appreciate your feedback. I know you just worked out. You probably want to go eat. You're probably sweaty. I'll let you go, but yeah, Bob, I appreciate the feedback, man. And you're just getting started. You're like just revving up the engine. So I'm super, super pumped to see where you'll be, 5.5+ months from now. and see you cranking it out, dude. So I appreciate you jumping on and giving feedback. Very, very helpful.
Thank you. And in about 15 minutes, I get to see Mike. So
Okay, cool. Tell him
we're
I said,
taking care of you guys early today, so I can
yeah,
get out of here.
right, right. Tell him I said what's up. Okay, man. Well, drive safe, and
Will do.
we'll see you on the inside. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Stefan.
All right. See you, brother. Bye.